All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Notary Titans on Tuesday, August 24th, 2021. This is our end of month. So thank you for those who could take some time out and hang out with us a bit. For those who are new to the show and never heard of this before, TNT is like an old-fashioned radio call-in show, except we're on Zoom and we have video. You're able to use the Zoom raise hand feature to ask pretty much any question you have about the notary world. And you'll get Laura Biewer and myself's perspective and response. Plus the chat is a huge source of information, perspective, and resources. So I encourage everyone at the end of the call to use the three buttons to save the chat because there is some gems in there as well. I'm going to talk a little bit slowly today as we get started because Laura is running either precisely on time or a little bit late today as she is teaching this morning. And I think the best value for you is to have multiple perspectives on some of these situations and questions that you come up. So the first thing I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about me. My name is Bill Soroka. Hold on one second while my dogs bark. All right, my name is Bill Soroka. Never fails. Guys, my name is Bill Soroka. I'm the founder of NotaryCoach.com. I'm also the author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent. I'm also the host of the Side Hustle Lounge podcast, where we talk about legitimate business opportunities, the mindset it takes to make those a success, and then how you, or the why of why we work so hard. We talk about adventure and lifestyle design as well. My co-host is Laura Biewer. I'll introduce her in just a moment whenever she gets here. And then a couple of announcements for you. First thing, you guys have been asking me for months for how to recognize a fake ID. That's extremely important in the work that we do. We're very oftentimes the last line of defense against mortgage and identity fraud. So we brought in an expert. Glenn Garrity is going to join us on August 28th. This is a free event for you. It's called How to Recognize a Fake ID. We got really creative with that one. But it does require registration. I'm going to type it into the chat window. If you're watching a replay, just go to notarycoach.com/fake, and you can register there. That's going to be a great event, guys. We already have over 800 people registered. The energy is going to be awesome, and there's going to be a 30 to 45-minute Q&A session afterwards, so you can bring those weird situations and great questions to Glenn. The other thing that we're going to talk about is Phil Shannon. Phil, are you on yet? Phil may not be on yet. Oh, there's Jennifer, though. Hey, Jennifer.
I can help. Yeah, he's going to be doing a live Zoom meeting right after you guys are done on side hustles for notaries, specifically for Legal Shield, and it's going to be a lot of great information. If I get a link, I will share it in the chat.
Beautiful, and we'll invite Phil back up as well. That usually happens within 15 minutes of TNT ending. So if you have some more time, hang out with Phil. All right, also, guys, if you're interested in the adding the fingerprinting service to your business, I just interviewed the CEO of Certifix LiveScan on Side Hustle Lounge podcast. It released last Thursday. Great information about how you can start a fingerprinting business. There's some limitations for the digital fingerprinting, and Certifix specializes in California and Florida. That's a huge bulk of you who are on this call and watching, because those are the two biggest states for notaries. But if you end up going the ink fingerprinting route, it opens up all the doors to all the other states as well. So it's definitely worth a listen. And we have great resources for you inside the VIP room, totally free to join and gain access to that at sidehustlelounge.com. All right, that's the bulk of my announcements now. Laura Biewer, are you here? How's our timing on that? Not so great, apparently. That's okay. She'll be here anytime. We're going to go ahead and jump in here. Diane Rameli, thank you so much. I happen to know that you're in Florida. What's going on?
You know what? Skip me and come back because this is kind of a question that Laura would be able to answer in addition to you. So I'll just wait.
Fine. Hint taken, Diane.
It wasn't a hint. It was just a courtesy.
Yeah, I'll get totally fine. And then I just want to touch base with Zara as well. Zara, I noticed you were actually the first hand that we had up, but you don't have your hand up now. Did you have a question? Zara, going once. All right. I guess I'm going to take that as a no. Hint taken. ×2. Rosetta Easley, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to unmute? Tell us what state you're in and how we can help.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Bill. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, sure can. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, I am from Wilmington, Delaware.
Right.
And I have a question. I did a notary last week where a woman contacted me. She said out on a Saturday saying that she needed it done for Monday. I said, okay. Now where she lived was about an hour away. So I went to her, but and I asked if she had, if the documentation itself had an area for, notarization, like its own specific part, or just to see if I needed to bring like an acknowledgement or something like that. So she said it did. So when I got there, it was a form because she was going through a process of being an insurance agent. So because she lives in Delaware, but she wants to be an insurance agent in Georgia, she needed to have a form stating something like she was not a citizen of Georgia. I believe that's what it was. She was not a citizen of Georgia, but her ID was from South Carolina. So it was her. I mean, I know I verified it was her, but then I was kind of, okay, there's 3 different states that we're dealing here. And it just threw me for a loop. And I told her, because I remember what one of the, what you guys are saying, that you have to, like the notary has to be signed for the place that you're sitting in, basically. I said, well, I'm in Wilmington, we're in Delaware, so it's going to be a notary for Delaware, and I hope it's, it would be good for Georgia. But did I confuse myself? And if you understand, I'm probably not stating it right, but I was so confused, but I did it anyway. Yeah. And I did charge her a traveling fee because she needed it like right then and there to have it faxed for Monday. Sure. So am I making any sense, Bill? I'm sorry.
I think so. No, and I love that you bring that up, because that's one of the challenges with what's called general notary work is sometimes you get sideswiped with these unusual situations. But when it comes down to it, you are responsible for the notary laws in your state. So you're absolutely right. So the notarial certificate, everything's going to be Delaware. She can have an ID from all 50 states. Yeah. You can recognize that idea, or those IDs. So that part is totally fine. And then as far as who's receiving the document, the document is going to be responsible for showing you what needs to be done, right? So you can kind of follow the guidelines, but regardless, you don't have to know the laws of Georgia. Okay. You have to know the laws of Delaware, because that's where you are an office holder or an commission holder in Delaware. And I see Laura Biewer is just joining too. So Laura, I don't know if you caught that question or not, if you want to jump in.
I didn't. I just caught the end where you're answering. So I'll just say ditto to you, Bill.
Okay. So Rosetta, and that, I think this happens quite a bit, and it does get better the more experience that you have. So it can be a little convoluted at first, especially when somebody's staring at you, expecting you to be the expert, but it does get better. And just know that you are only responsible for your state.
Okay.
And then the instructions from the person who's going to be receiving the document, if they have something specific they'd like to see, as long as it's in integrity with the laws of your state, you can assist with that too.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better, because I'm thinking, okay, I hope I did everything right. I notarized it, I stamped it, everything went, okay. She even bought me a cup of coffee, so we're good
Nice.
on that.
It sounds like you handled it just well. And so
Yeah.
for me, when I get these unusual circumstances, and of course, as soon as I say this, it'll get blown out of the water, but there is probably 80% of the paperwork that you see in general notary work is consistent and the same. You can kind of count on it.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the 20% are these off the wall, sideswipe type weird documents, because anybody in the world can create any document and then say, I'd like to see that notarized. So they can require a notary on it. But for the most part, it's all the same. On those weird ones, not all the same, but at least closer to a recognizable. On those unusual ones, if the document does not have personal data on it yet, I like to ask them if they'd be willing to send it. Can you forward the email? Can you send me a PDF attachment? I'll take a look at the document and make sure I can be of assistance to you. That has saved me from going out to areas where they don't actually even need a notary at all. I'll just say, here's what this document's requiring. They actually want this or a notary. What would you prefer? I'd love to be able to help you. What would you like to have done here? That way we aren't wasting anybody's time. And if I don't recognize the document, I don't have to step into a situation looking a fool. I can do some research. I can get on Google and say, what the heck is this? And then I can formulate a way that I can dance with that conversation.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll keep that in mind.
All right.
It seems like general notary work is where I'm leaning more to. So I do appreciate you guys and all the information I'm receiving. You guys put out great content. Even been listening to Kimmy Notary, Kimmy, I think her name is, from Georgia. So she's been excellent as well. So I thank you guys so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for being here, Rosetta.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Let's take a moment and welcome Laura Biewer. Laura, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's see, I'm on a headset today, teaching out in San Jose. So I'm out in the San Jose area today. Let's see, what am I excited about? Well, just yesterday was Silas's 6-month birthday, half birthday, I guess. So already celebrating. We were celebrating the half birthdays. We just couldn't wait for his first birthday. And some of you might have seen me post his picture. It's just so cute. So that's exciting for me every day. I'm also excited that we're getting closer to Notary Symposium, and well over 300 notaries have already committed to be with us on November 6th. And if that's something that you're thinking about, I encourage you to act sooner than later, because once the last ticket is sold, then there are no more. There's a limit on the license that I have. And once I hit it, that's the end of that. So we have great speakers coming from actually different parts of the US. It's not all California. I think you are, and if you were there last year, then you will remember Robbie, and he's coming back. So we've got lots of fun planned for you, lots of new prizes planned for you, lots of new goodies in the welcome box that we're putting together. So, and by the way, the early bird pricing ends the end of August. So the price goes up if you wait until September. So that's what's going on in my neck of the woods, Bill.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm so glad that you brought that up, that early bird pricing, guys. We're talking about, what is it, Laura, 85 bucks?
It's 89 now.
89 bucks, $89. So $89 to attend an event. And if you got just one appointment from that, one extra appointment, it will have paid for itself. So this is as close to a no-brainer as we can get, guys. If you want to grow your business, if you're in this for the long haul, I highly encourage you jump in and join this event. Laura does an incredible job. And with her producer, Robbie, on the call, everything flows so crystal clear and the content speaks for itself. All right. Thank you so much, Laura. I'm glad you're here because Diane has been waiting for you. Diane Rameli from Florida.
Hi, Diane.
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
So I have been continually being challenged with witnesses in the state of Florida, and I do not know what I am doing wrong. The borrowers don't want to go out and get their own witnesses. They don't want to pay for me to bring them. They complain to their lender. The title people are sending me messages saying, you don't need to do witnesses, but it's on the documents. I don't know how to get past this.
Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about documents, particularly in real estate, on these deeds and deeds of trust. A lot of them are a boilerplate format. And so,
Right.
for instance, I handle deeds of trust in California. We're not a witness state, and it will have witnesses on the bottom of the page. That doesn't mean I need witnesses. That just means that this document happened to include a place for witnesses should they be required. So I think that's the first thing, is just because it's there doesn't mean you automatically need them. Now, Florida is a state that, for not the deed of trust, but I believe for deeds, other deeds, requires witnessing, right? So in your state, they do require it. In Connecticut and in Georgia and in, I think, South Carolina, there's 4 or 5 other states that are like that require it. And when that happens, that's when you do require it. Then it is really the signer's job. And if they don't want to provide them, we're not required to provide them for free unless we've spoken with the title company and we have said, hey, if you need witnesses and they don't provide them, I can do that, but there'll be an extra fee for that, for me to bring people in to do that. I mean, whether the title company pays for it and it's in your fee and you pass it on, or whether the signers pay for it directly, it's not our responsibility to provide them for free.
Yeah,
But
that's
just
absolutely
make sure before you go there that you even needed witnesses to begin with.
Well,
If it-
so for me to interpret what that document is, am I practicing some unauthorized subject matter expertise here? If it's on the page, I'm thinking, okay, don't leave blank lines.
I'm speaking specifically about real estate documents for
Right.
people who are handling, loan signing appointments of whatever nature.
This
There are
is
only
specific to the
5
mortgage.
states. Yeah, there are 5 states. There's those 5 states that require it for the recording purposes. So that's what you need to know, is what are those states? The NNA hotline can tell you. I have published them before. I don't always remember all of them. I know it's Florida, Georgia, I think South Carolina, and I want to say Connecticut. I can't remember who the other state is on there. If somebody remembers, please post it. And then if it's not one of those states, then the mortgage or deed isn't going to require it, even though they might have the lines there. Another way that I would know that it was required is if the Comfort Louisiana, thank you very much. The other way I would know is if the title company told me, or the hiring company told me in my confirmation, be aware, you will need witnesses. All right, so those are the 2 ways that I know.
Well, and then Laura, too, in Florida, specifically, they have that contingent that says that if there's not a transfer deed, they don't
Right.
require the witnesses. Is
That's
that
right.
correct? Can you speak to that?
So Florida changed their law a few years ago, because it used to be also on the deeds of trust. They're saying only when you're transferring ownership. So grant deeds and quitclaim deeds could be it, interspousal deeds. These are the kind of deeds that are going to need the witnessing. Their deed of trust or mortgage is not going to need that. So what's important is for you to know what your state requires. If you look in the recording law, because that's where it is, it's in the recording law that says, what do I need in order to record this document? And that's what it will say. It needs signature witnessing, or it needs just regular witnesses. It needs to be acknowledged, the signature needs to be acknowledged. That information is going to be right there for us to see.
So is it acceptable to fill in NA on those blank lines?
So you could put, well, I wouldn't do it because it's in the document portion. I would let my signers know, if we're not using witnesses, would you please just take care of addressing that? And NA would be fine to do that. Again, this is really specific to real estate documents and loan signings I'm talking about. There may be documents that require witnesses that have nothing to do with what state you're in, like maybe a power of attorney. A general power of attorney may require witnesses and a notary. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear. When I say there are some witness states, it was related to real estate documents specifically.
Yeah, this was specific to
Yeah.
a mortgage document for a refinance.
Right. I have it on mine. I don't do anything with the witness lines personally. I'm thinking through it right now at this moment while I'm on the spot. You could put N/A. I don't see an issue with that. Or just leave those blank because it's not appropriate for this document in the state that you're doing it in. And I did see that somebody in the chat mentioned, if I'm in California and I'm handling California real estate documents, I know I don't need witnesses. But if I'm in California and I'm handling a Florida document in a real estate package that is needing witnesses, just because I don't live in a witness state doesn't mean I'm not going to have witnesses for Florida documents. What I'm hoping is that the title or hiring company pointed it out to me to say, hey, we need witnesses on the whatever the document is. Be sure that that's arranged. And then I've got to hopefully get the signers to, hey, get your neighbors over here or get whoever over here to take care of it.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. All right, Randy Venters, I happen to know that you are in Washington. Welcome back, sir. How can we help today?
I've got two questions. The first one's got kind of two parts, and it was about a specific situation, but I'll generalize it. For when we're notarizing forms for an acknowledgement and also for a jurat where they're swearing, if we know the facts to not be true, do we still acknowledge it? So if Bill says he's going to bequeath his yellow Mustang to Laura, but the car is blue, and Bill signs that piece of paper, do I still acknowledge that Bill's the one that signed that piece of paper?
So Bill, do you want me to jump in or do you want to
Yeah.
talk about that?
Yeah, take that. I'm not sure I'm following him, but
So
let's do.
if I am personally aware that the information is not, something's happening here, is not truthful, as a notary, I cannot proceed with that notarization. If I have personal knowledge that this is false, I cannot participate in that.
Okay, because and it doesn't matter either way, whether it's a acknowledgement or a jurat.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. We're not going to be performing notarial acts if we know that there is purposeful lies, right? That there's untrue information and it's come to our attention, and it might
I
come
hit
to
the
our
wrong
attention.
button. You said, can I notarize what?
Hold on one second. Hold
Okay.
on. Let's
Hello?
hold on.
iPhone.
Let's
There
not
we go.
let's not quite interject.
Auntie, can you hear me? Oh,
Guys, please keep yourself muted. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Laura, did I mute you too? Just muting everybody all willy-nilly.
Okay.
There you
All
go.
right. So I want to make sure it's clear. I may not know that the information is incorrect or untrue or purposeful lies. And if that's the case, it's not on me. I'm just there to certify who it is. But if it's come to my attention because they told me this illegal thing that they're planning to do, I need to back out because now I know about it.
So let me tell you how I handle that, Randy, because there have been a couple of instances on the loan signing side where that becomes apparent. There is an affidavit that says that the house is not up for sale currently while I'm refinancing. And they sign that after I point it out, and I see the for sale sign in the yard. So, but I'm not notary police, right? I'm not here to enforce. So rather than confront the situation, I say, are you promising that this house is not for sale right now? And they usually reiterate it because I walked past the for sale sign and they're promising that it's not. So I'm not there for the confrontation. So I'll report that up the chain and I'll say, I have to pull this out or negate this document because I know it to be fraudulent. So they can handle it on their end, but I'm not in an unsafe situation. Personal safety is always first priority.
Yeah.
in these
And I was really talking about general. I wasn't thinking about loan signings. And loan signings, if I see that happening, I'm going to report. I'm right on it with Bill. Not my job to have a confrontation. They need to figure out what to do. But when I'm on my own and I've been hired by the person themselves and now it's come to my attention, who am I going to report it to? Right. So then I have to make a decision. Do I want to be a party to this? Because if it all goes south, you know who they're going to be pulling in to that courtroom. Let's talk to the notary. So I
Right,
just don't want
right.
to be a part of that.
Right. My specific case was a loan signing document. The signer signed the borrower's affidavit saying that they were going to move in within 60 days and live there for a period of 1 year. And then after we got to that, one of the the loan application had a document that said that the bank was acknowledging that the borrower was not going to live in the property, that her mother was going to live in the property instead of her. And when she signed that, she's like, "Oh yeah, because I'm not moving in. My mom is moving into this property, but I'm the one paying for it." And so when I brought it up to the title company, they were like, "Oh, it's all okay because the bank knows and everything is good." So she signed she basically lied on the borrower's affidavit, on the occupancy affidavit. Sorry.
I've had this similar situation as well too, and this is where it gets into a slippery slope of legal definitions. So this would probably not be something, I mean, especially because you have evidence that she's not. It's just a standard form that's in there, and they might legally define moving into the house as her, because maybe her mom is a dependent of hers, and that might qualify for their rules on that.
Okay.
So I've talked to attorneys about that very same thing, and they said it's just a really slippery slope. So we don't have to necessarily get in that, especially when there's backup documentation to put our mind at ease. But what you're describing as well is it's not always that way, right? Like I've been in a signing where they're signing as primary residents through the whole thing. And then at the end, they're so excited to get their keys. They're like, "Oh my gosh, my tenant's moving in next month." And I'm like, whoa. You just told me that you signed all this paperwork that this is going to be your primary residence. And I don't confront them, right? Like I'm not police, but I feel obligated that I need to let the closing agent and the lender know that here is what has transpired. Otherwise, I become a party to this fraud.
All right, thank you. And then my second question is, with one signing company I've had in the last 6 months, 2 different cases. And I know Laura's answer is going to be to find someone else to work with. But so the first time I showed up at a signing and I was doing the signing and we were halfway through the signing, about a half hour in, and the signer decided she didn't want to continue with the signing. And all they paid me was a print and trip fee for that. And I sucked it up and said, "Okay, that's fine. That's all you're paying. You guys need to make up for it on the next job." And then yesterday I had one with the same signing service where I showed up. I received the appointment last Thursday. I called late Thursday or early Thursday evening to confirm the appointment. The borrowers called me back Friday morning to confirm the appointment for yesterday afternoon. I showed up at 3:55 for a 4 o'clock appointment, and there was already another notary sitting there conducting the appointment. So I said who I was, and he said, "Well, I have this," and he tried to call the signing service. I called the signing service. I'm the one that got through, and they looked it up, and we had 2 different order numbers. So somehow that signing got put in as 2 different jobs.
Yeah.
And the signing service said, "Oh, well," they asked me, "Well, where is he at?" And I said, "Well, he showed up at 3:45 for a 3:45 start, and he's already halfway through." And they said, "Well, okay, go ahead and let him finish, and we'll send you a print and trip fee." And I said, "Well, that's not acceptable because I showed up to do a signing. They're here ready to sign. It's not my fault that someone else made a mistake." And then they raised it a little bit. But kind of when that situation happens, what are you expecting to get paid out of that job?
So I'll go forward. Laura, are you still here?
I'm here.
Okay, good. So here's my take on it. This to me is number one, I think you should be paid your full fee for both appointments. That's how I feel about these situations. You were paid to do a job and you showed up to do it. Your time is extremely valuable, and I believe you should get your full fee. Signing companies don't always agree with that, and that might be their own personal opinion, or it might be the way they do business, which means they have a relationship with their client where they've agreed to some lesser fee for this. And I just don't agree with those business practices. That's poor business practices. And I don't want to work with people who have poor business practices, because that stuff rolls downhill. And if I'm the final stop, guess where it's stopping? It's going to be on my head. I'm going to do all the work. I'm going to show up. I'm going to be the last face of this transaction, and I'm going to get dumped on. That is not acceptable to me. So I would probably, and I'm sure Laura's is going to say the same thing, I would probably no longer work with that company. You've given them 2 chances, probably more than that you're not even sharing with us. So I think it might be time to move on. They do not value your time.
Right.
Move on. Laura, what do you say?
Ditto. There you go. I don't work with people that treat me that way.
It doesn't have to be a big, long battle. They're doing the best they can with what they've got to.
Yeah.
They're trying to compete on price, or not competing at all. Maybe they're not advocating for you. Maybe they're not advocating for their notaries and their notaries' time. That's a reality. That could be a reality. I just don't choose to work with people who do that. Randy, is that helpful?
Yes, thank you.
You're so welcome. Thanks for being here. All right. Looks like Gary Spadaro. Is that Missouri?
No, New York.
Dang it, I do it all the time.
It's okay.
What's up,
Look,
Gary?
here's the question. Hiring companies. Every time we get a text from a hiring company, do they all want to lowball you to nothing?
Great question, Gary. Laura, do you want to take that one first?
Well, could you restate that for me, please, Gary? I
Do
think
they, do they all want to lowball you for the price for a signing that's maybe 35, 40 miles away, and they want to give you $35 for it?
Okay, so what I would tell you, that's not my experience. I don't get those kinds of offers, but when I do get an offer that is below what I think is the value of the assignment, I let them know right up front, here, my fee is X.
Okay,
That's to cover all of these types of activities you've asked me to handle, because I've asked for the scope of the job before I would ever accept it. You want me to travel, you want me to print 2 sets, you want me to orchestrate the signing, meaning collect all the signatures, you want me to drop off at a courier service for the final package. All of those things take a certain amount of time for me to handle, and handle them well. And so this is what it would cost for me to do that. We're both in business to make a profit. I'm in business to make a profit. You're in business to make a profit. If you've got a situation that your budget cannot allow to hire me because I'm outside of your budget, that's not a problem. It's not a problem for me. You need to have a notary who is in your budget. And I need to accept assignments that are in mine. And so it's not a fight. It's not disrespectful to indicate, I understand what you're asking me to do. Now that I understand that, here's what I would charge for that service.
okay.
And I don't have that issue. I'm getting assignments that are a lot higher than that.
Yeah, your assignments, you're from California?
Yes.
Yeah, well, New York is a whole different ball game.
Well, 1 second, Gary, because here, before you go into that too, that's where I want to jump in, is how much data you have before you make that decision. How many signing companies are you signed up with?
I got about 10 or 12 signing companies. Sometimes when they put the word in there, negotiate, then I know that I could put in for a higher fee. I'll check my mileage. I work my business in a 3-step, 30, 30, and 30. I have a woman in my office that takes all the texts, and if we're in a certain area, she'll accept it or reject it or put in for a different fee. Okay. And, but you could put in for a different fee. Next thing you know, you never hear back from them. you never hear back from them, not for any other ones, but for this one here, you don't hear back.
Yeah.
So it tells me that they got somebody at a lower fee.
And that's an important reminder too, is because it's 35 miles from you. Remember, these are going out to hundreds, maybe thousands of people. It might make sense for the person right next door to take it for $35. But more important, when you say you have 10 or 12 signing companies, you are at 10% of the game maximum. You should be at 100, maybe even 200 if you're going to be relying on refinances to hit the call volume that you want. It is more of a challenge to manage those relationships, but if you want your phone ringing and dinging, this is a numbers game. So if you're not getting enough signings with 10 or 12, 10x that. Get yourself up.
Where do I get this? Where do I come up with a list for the signing companies?
So my favorite list, because it is the most up to date and current, is notaryreviews.org with Carrie Rivera.
Right.
And she's got over 900 hiring companies on there. And Gary, the best part of it is they are star rated and reviewed by other loan signing agents. So you know which companies to avoid, because there's some shysters.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
And then there's some really great companies too. And then so there's 5-star, 4-star, and then the 3-star is kind of this weird middle ground. Some of them have tons of volume. They're good, but they take 90 days to pay you. So notaries tend to not enjoy that as much. So they get a 3-star rating. So use your own judgment there. But I usually recommend that you start at the 3-star companies and work your way up.
Okay.
3-star companies have the volume.
What should a signing go for? Average, a refi.
So there's so many variables in this, but I tell everybody to use about $100 as the average.
Yeah, all right.
It can significantly swing, especially when you're working with signing companies.
Yeah.
So all the way down, I've seen, obviously you've seen some at 35, some at 65, 85 or 75 technically, because I still have clients that I have given $75 for, is really pushing it as far as making any money at this. You'd really have to have back-to-back in your area to make that work. So you want to strive for the $100, but here's what you want to remember too, is these companies are probably only getting paid $125, $115, maybe $150 for a refinance on the high end. The refinances are the most competitive price-wise behind the scenes. Escrow companies are fighting for lender dollars and they're promising all of the whole world. They're competing really hard on price. So it's really hard if as a signing company, I'm only getting paid $100. If you want $100, it's not a win-win.
Right.
So maybe you take 85 or 65, whatever it is, but you get to make that decision for yourself. There is no rule and there's no notary committee that you have to justify your rates for. You take what works for you in your situation, because you gotta make this work. You've got to pay your bills, because idle wills do not pay the bills. Laura, what do you have to say on that?
Yeah, so trying to think how I want to say this.
Easy, straight.
So here's the deal, is that I figured out, what my overhead, what my cost was, what kind of hourly rate I want to see for myself, and then what my profit margin was going to be. And so I am in California and it is expensive to live here. And getting jobs that are well over that mark that Bill mentioned, and I get jobs that are 150 to 250. Of course, we have some traffic concerns. We've got a lot of stuff going on here. And so it takes a little bit more depending on where you're at to do it. So for me, that's where I want to be. That's my sweet spot. And so for those hiring companies that are what Bill described, they're getting paid only 150. They don't have a lot of money because you know what? They have their own overhead to cover. Then those are not companies that are compatible with my pricing. And so, we can be friends. I just can't do work for them because we're just not in the same market. I'm in a different market than they are. And I need to work for the companies that are looking at getting paid $250 to $300. So they have plenty of room to pay me what I need to make. And yeah, it takes sometimes I've taken jobs that were underrated and I learned from the experience. And so it took a little trial and error for me to get myself into that sweet spot. And it meant It meant me willing to say the word no when I just felt it wasn't a match for me. I don't have to get upset or angry about it. It just wasn't a fit for my business. And it may be a fit, as Bill said, for somebody else's, but it just wasn't a fit for mine.
Okay, good enough. Bill, can I ask you one more question again? What was the name of that notary? I didn't get the last part.
Yeah, it's notaryreviews.org, and I'm typing it into the chat window as well. And her name's Carrie Rivera. She's usually on here. She might be on here today. I'm not sure. It requires an annual subscription. It's worth every penny. It's like $100, $125.
Okay.
I use it.
The other thing I want to say about this too, Gary, is, and for everybody listening, is, and you can see it in the chat, there's people that are saying $100 is too low. I never take less than 150. That is the beautiful thing about what we're learning right here, is that even though there's hundreds of companies that might be considered lowball, there are amazing companies that pay a really fair rate. Like, let me mute Laura real quick. Sorry, I can't find her. But there are some that get paid $175. For me, I get paid $200 to $300 per appointment. I focus more on escrow direct and on the home builder or the new purchase side. The direct relationships are the way to go. And I think if there's anybody on this call that is looking to go next level, we've got to start thinking about next level relationships, direct relationships, and finding those gems of signing companies that pay a fair rate. And sometimes the gems are the exact same company that has a reputation as a lowball with one notary. They're gems to another. This boils down to relationships, competency, it's confidence, it's integrity, and guess what? Likability. Do they enjoy doing business? Do you make it easy to work with you? Are you flexible? Do you go above and beyond? Do you invoice on time? All of those, do you make them smile when they call you? All of that plays into this a little bit. I know there's one signing company that pays a notary, I know, $175 for every single appointment. But when they send them out, they're down to like $75, $85 on SnapDocs. But because of the relationship that has developed with this one notary, she gets maximum rate. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Thank you for sparking a great conversation there, Gary, in New York, not Missouri.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot. Have a good day.
Okay.
All right. Raquel Hawkins, thank you so much for being here. Would you like to unmute and tell everybody which state you're in and how we can help?
Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm from Texas, and I have a question, a quick question. Actually, I was typing some of it in the chat section, but it's regarding, it's a limited specific power of attorney, which is part of some real estate documents. I think they're having me go out and just do the specific document from a previous signing, I guess, not my signing, someone else's. But as I was looking at the document, and I've also been going back and forth with the signing service and the loan officer, they are asking me to witness and notarize this power of attorney. Am I able to do that?
Raquel, I'm sorry. Tell me again what state you're in.
Oh, I'm sorry, Texas?
In Texas.
Texas.
So, Laura, what do you think? Texas?
So whether or not you can, there's two answers to this. One is, what does your state law say? There are states, Georgia's one of them, for instance, that says the notary cannot be both the witness and the notary in the same document. Then you have other states that just don't address it, right? And so when they don't address it, what's the best practice? The best practice is you shouldn't be the same person for both. We should have two different sets of eyeballs. That's the idea. However, you would not be breaking any laws by being both, as long as your signature did not have to be notarized as well, because we can't notarize our own signature. So as long as the witness's signature is not notarized and your state in Texas does not prohibit you from being both the witness and the notary, you could do it. And you'd
Okay,
have to make a personal choice.
okay. And I spoke to the loan officer and I said, not sure that I can do that. And and Laura, I Googled specific to Texas, if
Mhm.
I can be if the notary can be the
Mhm.
witness and notarize, and it wasn't very clear. And I've been looking at trying to find it somewhere. So I'm not sure.
Okay,
I
well,
don't really feel comfortable doing it. So
I
I've
can
already
help
asked.
you.
I'm sorry.
I can help you with that. After the call, would you just pop me a text?
Okay.
209-606-4938. In the meantime, when we're done with the call, I'll jump onto my hotline resource and I will look it up and I'll tell you.
Okay. And what was the
Okay.
area code again? I'm sorry,
209.
Okay. Very good. And yeah, because I'm gonna have to leave in about 15 minutes. But I did ask, actually the signers, I asked them to have 2 witnesses there.
Yeah, as a best practice, Raquel, that's what Laura would recommend anyway.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because that's what I thought. And that's what I've been telling the signing service and the loan officer, but they were kind of like, oh, you can do both. But I didn't want to do that.
Laura, what is it that you say? The more eyeballs, the better?
The more eyeballs, the better. And when I'm not being nice, I say, you're not the boss of me.
Okay, thank you
Secretary
so
of State
much.
is.
All
You're
right,
welcome.
thank you, Raquel.
I appreciate your help. Thanks.
Hey, Phil Shannon, I'm going to sneak you in real quick to make sure that we get you covered there. Welcome.
You, sir. How's everybody?
Excellent.
Laura's in my part of the world and I'm not in my part of the world. So sorry, Laura, we're two ships passing in the night. But I'm excited for a couple things. As Bill knows, we did a Side Hustle Lounge it was a while ago, but it's finally airing in a couple days. And Bill, I don't remember anything we talked about. I just know we laughed a lot. We talked nothing about Legal Shield. I think our whole conversation was about mindset and just the right things to do to be successful in business. And I hope that when people do get a chance to watch that Side Hustle Lounge, I think they'll get a really big kick out of some of the things we discussed. And I hope the editing worked because there were a few cases we definitely needed some editing.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I was thinking the same thing. I don't remember anything we talked about. It was all about mindset, strategies, and overcoming challenges in 36 years of business. So I can't wait to hear it.
So looking forward to it. But I did want to remind everybody, almost every week, I have a small little Zoom right after TNT. And Bill and Laura are always nice enough to let me give you a little promo. So if you don't have my phone number, I can give that to you. Or if you want to punch it in there, Bill, please feel free to do that. Feel free to text me for the Zoom link. It's a Zoom link we use every time. So at 105 Pacific, 205 Mountain, 305 Central, 405 Eastern. In other words, right after TNT, we'll do a short little Zoom and we'll talk again about how to protect and grow your business, how to develop another source of income, and just mostly have a good time and learn a lot. It'll be short and sweet because I've got somewhere I've got to be and I've got to get on the road. So it will be short, sweet, but we look forward to you being there. Thank you so much, Bill, Laura, appreciate the time. As always, great show. Thanks.
Thanks, Phil. All right. Sue Haley, great to see you. I know you're in Texas. You want to unmute and tell us how we can help.
Hey, so this, I have a question on a scenario that literally just happened 2 hours ago. So I'm actually still processing because it's not a good scenario. Okay. So my question is kind of like, what would you guys have done? Because I think I'm beating myself up right now. So I got how to do an affidavit of heirship. Got it through a signing service. I guess I made the mistake of not maybe asking clearly in the appointment because I assumed it was one person, one signer. When I get there, it's 3. So first of all, when I get there, there's another lady who's not a signer. There's a total of 4 people, 2 ladies, 2 guys. And one lady is being just super aggressive to the other, one of the signers. I'm talking about like profanity, you can't this, whatever. I don't know what the issue is. And they kind of apologized to me and whatever. And so as I'm filling out my journal, at that point, like I was getting a bad vibe. So I was like, I'm usually like, I got to pep in my step. I was very direct, like, all right, I need your IDs. Let me fill this out. You know, this should take no more than 5 minutes. Yeah, I went hairy from there. As I'm signing my journal, that lady just comes out of the room and she's trying to get all physical, and the guy is physical, and I'm just, all of this is happening so fast. I'm just sitting there witnessing, like I'm like, what the flip mode? And I'm like, I'm frozen. And it was just, what I witnessed was not okay. And I kind of was like, when they took her back into the room, I said, listen, I said, you guys have to get this together. I said, or I'm leaving. And fortunately enough, I was able to get all the signatures, but literally I had to go into my car and kind of cry my emotions out because I don't really know what I witnessed there. You know, like, I feel like I don't know if I should have stepped out, called the police officer to kind of like be a mediator or something. I don't know. That's never happened to me before. And I know I'm like sounding all flustered, but I'm so confused. I feel like somebody help me and tell me what would have been the best action to do.
Yeah, well, what an unfortunate situation. I've been there in weird, contentious situations like this, so I get it. I think you handled it perfectly well. Number one, we're notaries public. We are not hostage negotiators. We're not crisis intervention specialists. We're not police officers. So when those types of situations come up, it is, remember, personal safety first all the time. There's no exception to that. You can't do anything if you don't survive it. So you can remove yourself from the situation. I love how you handled it. Hey, we need to get this in check or we're going to step it up. You do not have to call in. If you have to call in a police officer, if it comes to your head that I wonder if I should call a cop to mediate this, then you need to exit the appointment. The only time police officers should be that close or nearby is probably in a courtroom or in a prison.
Right.
So it's okay to cancel the appointment, absolutely. And if you don't want to deal with it ever again, you can explain to the hiring company what has gone on, be as detailed as possible without, disclosing personal information.
Right.
And if you ever get pushback from a hiring company because you put your personal safety first, do not work with that company.
Yeah, that one, I think that part, I think I'm okay with like saying no to, like, if you don't care about my safety, then I don't care to work for you. I felt like as soon as I came in and noticed that vibe, I don't know, I feel like maybe I should have just addressed it and left. Because when I walked in, I refused to sit. It was like a little hallway and a little table. Because again, it was just 3 papers. I could get that done in 2 seconds. I refused to sit. I was like, I'm gonna just stand right here by this table and fill out, like, I didn't, in my journal, I filled out the date, what it was, their ID. I was like, I'll fill out the time and all that other stuff later because I don't want to I couldn't walk out of that house fast enough. And I did detail the notes just saying, hey, look, I don't know who this lady here is. I'm assuming it's this, but this is I was like, a warning. I put a warning to title. Do not don't have these signers sign the seller documents together. It's going to be ugly.
Yeah.
So I did put that, and the response was like, thanks for the update. That's it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I think you handled it as best you can. And if this clearly needs to be scheduled outside of the home, this has happened to me in a divorce situation. So, and that very well might be what's happening there. You just never know. But those are really precarious situations sometimes. So it is absolutely okay to remove yourself from those situations. I think you handled it great. The adrenaline's probably still going, so you might be reviewing things, but And here's what you also mentioned is you tried to de-escalate and be there for them in the beginning. I think that would be normal for most of us, right? Because we don't want to just pull the trigger and say, oh, raise voice, I'm out of here, because we don't know. We have to analyze, we have to process. We're not used to people behaving in certain ways around us, so we want to be aware of that. And I think there's also personal safety protocol that you can put into place too, you know, having your back against a wall. You can actually ask them to move if the situation doesn't feel safe, or just leave. Like if those things are going through your head, like I want my back against the wall because I don't know what this lady's going to do. That's
Which, yeah,
probably a
the
good
way,
indication that you need to leave in the first place.
no,
And it's
I
okay.
agree.
It would be totally okay to say, you know what, I can tell emotions are high right now. Why don't we table this for a little bit, and perhaps I can meet one of you at the Denny's down the street at one time, and perhaps I'll meet the other one at another time, you know, however, whatever the situation is. You can do little things like that to help, or just completely remove yourself from the situation.
Okay, now that makes sense, because that was one thing I did. I was aware of my surroundings because the door was to behind me. Like I said, it was like a little hallway and the table to my left, and they were kind of more, I had the table between them and me anyway, but that's why I refused to sit, because I think if I sat, I was sitting right behind, you know, a little corner of the wall. I was like, I'm not sitting.
Well, I think that
I wasn't rude about it, but I just in my mind, in my head, I said I'm not sitting.
absolutely. I think you handled it just fine. Thank you, Suhaili. Thanks for bringing that up, and relax. And Laura, I think Laura has already had to leave. She's teaching, so the students were already coming back in on that one.
Okay, cool.
All right. Thank you for being here.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we have time for probably one more question. It looks like it's going to be Terry. If you'd like to unmute, tell us what state you're in and how we can help.
Hi, I am in Florida, and I've been asked by a company to become Ron certified.
Okay.
How do I start? What do I do?
Yeah, good question. So start with your statutes. First of all, you want to find out what the qualifications are, and the Secretary of State has the guidelines for what is required for you to be a remote online notary in Florida. And then I would highly recommend too that you get engaged with notary communities in Florida.
I didn't hear you.
Sorry, we got some disruption.
Yeah.
So there's some online communities, Facebook groups that are remote online notaries in the state of Florida. Get engaged there. Check out ronuniversity.com. It's ronuniversity.com with John Holder. Because one of the biggest challenges that you're going to have is which platform to choose. And John has interviews with most of the principals in those platforms with what to look for, what to avoid, the pros and cons and all that good stuff. So you can make the best decision for you. But before you do all that, yes, Alicia's in Florida. The people are putting their contact information in there for you. That can definitely help. But here's the thing that you want to decide first is with one company that says, hey, you should be a Ron, dig deeper. Why? Why should I be a Ron? Do you have lots of volume for me? Because you're going to have to invest a significant chunk of money, although some of the platforms are becoming a lot more affordable now, but you're still going to have to invest into that business. And if you want to do it right, you're going to have to invest and learn search engine optimization. You're going to have to commit time and energy into cultivating relationships that are going to bring more Ron appointments to you. And most importantly, does Ron fit into the vision of your company? Do you want to be at home in front of a computer doing notarization? For many people, the answer is yes, that sounds like a dream. For others, that sounds like a call center and a nightmare. They don't want to do that. They love this business because they can be out on the road meeting people face to face. So you got to make those key distinctions before you just jump in and do it.
Well, it seems to me, I mean, we just talked about it. He's not in Florida, and he wants to pay for everything, he said.
Nice. Who is this guy? Just kidding. Don't tell us.
No, I know. I mean, yeah.
But it sounds like he's looking for a collaboration. And anytime you do a collaboration with somebody, you want to do some proper vetting. So you want to have a call, schedule a Zoom, meet with him, find out what the expectations are, what he's offering, what you have to do in return for that. And make sure that things are on the up and up. You want to dig, you do a little bit of background on that. Things that are too good to be true, I always, even though I'm an optimist, I always like to dig a little deeper.
I
Find
agree.
out what am I giving up for this too. That's the other thing too. Does he have enough volume where you can kind of relax a little bit and he's going to just feed all these leads to you? Or does he just have, is he an attorney in California that has 1 or 2 trust appointments every month and he wants you to handle those?
Well, I wouldn't be working
Figure
for him
that out.
exclusively.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. You got to dig
Yeah.
deeper into that and figure out what those expectations are.
And do I take a course?
I would recommend it. Now, the training is, that's where Ron University might be able to help you out a lot. Florida, and I don't know if Florida has a training per se. Maybe some of the Florida notaries can chime in on the chat for the Ron, but start with the statutes on the requirements. That's step 1. Ron University is going to help you pick out which platform, because that's going to be what your next biggest decision. And then probably just an interview with your potential collaborator on what's expected.
Okay. I will put some work into that. I appreciate all your advice.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much for being here. Great way to close us out this week. Yeah, thank you, Rudine. NNA does offer a remote online notarization course. You know, it's very broad and overview, but it really helps put the pieces together so you can dive deeper on that one. Okay, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. We're already past the 1 hour mark. Thank you so much for joining us and growing yourself and your business on a Tuesday afternoon. Enjoy your end of month. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.